Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to Take 3. Yet another edition, ladies and gentlemen. Two hot topics, and with me, two young and hot-looking men, Jacob and Rahul.
Not as young as or as hot as you, but yeah.
But the subjects are hotter than all of us here put together. And the conversation is around IC814, the web series. And thereafter, we will try and dive into Bangladesh and the comments that have come from Mr. Mohammad Yunus himself. And just around the time, what's happening in Bangladesh on ground with some very, very shocking visuals that have come through. But IC814 first. There's a book. There's the incident in 1999. There are two versions or two books that have come through. And now there is this web series nearly about 3 decades later. Is it an effort at revising or revisionism, if we may say that, of what actually happened and what the future generations will see via this web series? Rahul Shivshankar, Zaka Jacob, floor is open. You go first.
I go first. Look, I don't know about revisionism. Maybe that's taking it a little too far. No one is rewriting history in that sense because this is proximate history. People can actually do fact checks, which they have done. I think the ecosystem is a prisoner of Aman Ki Asha sentimentality. There is a certain section in this country, it's a liberal ecosystem, call it what you want to, has long, sort of romance the idea of Indians and Pakistanis living together in some sort of a subcontinental Shangri-La of shared culture and history. Now, this is all very laudable. It's good to be friends. But it's taken to ridiculous levels of denial that there is something called an maybe civilizational animus between the two, especially on that side. They chose to see themselves as separate from all of us. We see ourselves as a very inclusive country. They see themselves as a country that exists because India exists. In specific, Hindu majority India exists. Now, look at the ridiculous lengths. You're talking about this business of not calling the terrorists by their Muslim name, but giving them all the other names under the sun, which they themselves sort of went around with,
the code names or the aliases
this, that, the other, whatever, Bhola Shankar, whatever. But the point is, when Pulwama happened, for example, what was the first reaction of this lobby? Let's not get too jingoistic. Let's not at any level warmonger. This is not the time for warmongering. Cut back to 26/11, a senior army commander comes out and says, look, there are things that we can do to teach the Pakistanis a lesson, especially across the LOC, especially on our own soil, POK. But guess what the government of the day does? No, we can't exercise that. In fact, Sharm el-Sheikh, you can make concessions to Pakistan in your draft agreement. Why is all this done? Then they'll suddenly talk about, if India and Pakistan were one team, man, we would never be defeated. This kind of sentimentalism comes through. Then if there are Pakistani stars, for example, and there is one who's taken Indian citizen, he is seen as a pariah in Bollywood by this ecosystem. But those chaps who come in, khatir hoti hai, they're given choicest roles, lots of money, and none of those chaps go back and take a position on terror through 1,000 cuts that bleeds India.
Correct.
So this sentimentalism, Aman Ki Asha, this business of sort of suggesting that, nothing ever can be obtuse from that side of the border. Biryani diplomacy, everything, talks.
So
now in the
this
J&K
is all a culmination,
elections, let's have talks with Pakistan.
Culmination of all of that ecosystem, which says, which somewhere believes is Aman Ki Asha. But you can have Aman Ki Asha, but should you always talk?
It's taken to a ridiculous level.
Should you not talk, call out terror, and should you change your bhasha with respect to terror or not?
I mean,
what's your take on this series?
I'm
Do you
not
believe
going to go
they
into
could have
all
just
this
done
big,
the
35,000 feet view and all that. I'm going to stick to the series. Okay. What was the issue that right-wing groups had? What is the germination? What is the starting point? The starting point was the use of the names Bhola and Shankar. Those were code names for the two of the hijackers. Now, my point is, were they referred to as Bhola and Shankar in actuality when the hijacking happened? Yes, that were their code names. Multiple eyewitnesses have corroborated that. It's there in the book of Captain Devi Sharan as well. My problem is, this web series is about six and a half hours of content. It's a 6 episodes, six and a half hours of content in which these names are referred to exactly once. once throughout the entire series. You have, sorry my friends, you are barking up the wrong tree. That's not the problem with the series. The bigger problem with the series, which I have, is there is a scene where they are showing this flight mid-air after having taken off from Amritsar, asking for permission to land in Lahore. There is a military general wearing 3 stars on his patches inside the air traffic control room saying, nahi, Musharraf Saab nahi denge permission because he doesn't want any bloodshed on Pakistani soil. Boss, that is my problem.
Yeah.
The whole thing was orchestrated by Musharraf Saab and his ISI. That the makers have somehow tried to whitewash. And, you know, for the problem for me is the disingenuous part about the right-wing groups, you know, going hammer and tongs about Shankar and Bhola, is that's a minor thing. The bigger problem is the guys who actually did it, and everybody knew
trying
who did
to give
it.
the Pakistanis and the ISI clean
That's the problem.
Clean chit.
But why is
I don't know.
It's not about
That's the question
it's
we're
not-
asking.
see,
Is it revisionism, or is it a misty-eyed sort of view that, you know, we must all be, you know, Indians sometimes take it upon themselves to preach morality to the rest of the world, especially in the creative arts. And you know, there are absurd lengths to which this goes. Look at M.F. Hussain. Now, I was very against him being hounded out of this country. But his art, some of it is, you know, upset a lot of people.
Yeah. No.
Was celebrated.
See, under the garb of
In
creative
this-
expression,
in this
you
garb,
can't-
exactly.
Yeah. So you can't go ahead and mock somebody and say it's creative expression, but steer clear of another group saying no, they will cut me to pieces. So then there is this whole justification of they can say Sartan se juda, but you can't say and we can't say.
No, in all Hindi
let's
movies,
come back
you
to
tell
the-
me, you watch more
No,
Hindi cinema than I do.
Let's
the
come back to-
Pathan is always some valorous character.
Okay, let's come back.
People from one particular
There is nothing
community
wrong in a
always
Pathan.
sort of,
There is nothing
you know,
wrong in being a Pathan being a
You
valorous
know,
character,
you-
but there is a
you
problem
grew up
if you
in the
put it-
70s,
if
Rahul.
you
The
project
hero was
somebody-
always Vijay and the villain was always a Pathan. Come on, man.
So-
that's
grew up in the
Sir,
I never grew up in the 70s, I'm not that old.
I don't think.
You just said hot and young before you
No. I
started
don't
the
think.
show.
So who says that 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds cannot be
Not
hot?
young.
So one of the most eligible bachelors in the country is pushing 60. So let's not get into that. But what I'm trying to say is. When we come back to the web series, there is a point that you make that there is a perhaps overcompensation which happens. But these makers, when they made Fire, they changed the names. When they made Sherni, they changed the names. When they made IC814, why didn't they put the disclaimer right at the top? Why didn't they show who were the real perpetrators? Why didn't they right at the top say, this was a terror attack orchestrated by the enemy? That's, I think, where you say that they try to whitewash. That's where the intent comes that perhaps the heart was not in the right place. Perhaps they thought, because see, this is a point somebody raised. Now, we spoke with Anil Sharma, the steward who was heading the cabin crew. Yeah. He said the same thing. He said, Anand, my problem, there were so many factual inaccuracies. There were no small water bottles. They're given. He says those people in the book, Devi Sharanji's book also, very clearly says that they did not misbehave with the air hostesses. They show a certain level of a dalliance which is happening. It's a one indicative shot. No, indicative shot. Then the thing is, none of the air hostesses were slapped. They show them as hitting the air hostess, whereas it was a junior steward who was actually beaten, and he was beaten behind that. He says that, but he says most importantly, Anandji, I don't think their heart was in the right place. So that's why do you want to do that?
The other problem was, I think some people seem to take great offense to the fact that, oh, you're humanizing the terrorists, you're showing one guy supposedly Harvard educated, his accent is better than that of the air hostesses.
But a Taliban minister negotiator looking as suave and cool, and your national security advisor and the others are looking
the other chap, negotiators, the people in charge of national security trying to, get this deal through, who are shown as bumbling and, not particularly good at what they're doing. There is a view that the government's response at that time was clearly not up to the mark. In fact, Ved Malik, who was army chief at that time, I interviewed him, Mr. Dulat, who was raw chief at that time, everyone, says one thing uniformly, that we made a huge mistake letting the aircraft go out of Amritsar.
Yeah. I also sometimes wonder, people like Anubhav Sinha, people like the cast, the researchers, the makers, whoever has made these films, they may have their own political views and thought process. But they also have a responsibility when they create something like this, that is this going to alter the national narrative? What an common Indian citizen is going to say? 2 years, two decades down the line, this web series will be seen. was 1999. What happened? Those who were born in the 90s don't even know what happened in IC814. So where does that responsibility come? Do you not want people like Anubhav Sinha?
If you say it's
no
inspired
matter what
by
your
true events, then you have creative license. But if you said it's a true story, then I'm sorry.
You have to
but
I think they say it's inspired by true events based on the book written by Captain Davy Sharma.
I don't think
but look, again, my other sort of difference of opinion in this is that it's not the job of these guys to be, I mean, their job is to entertain, their job is to make money, make sure that their series, makes money for the producer.
But
their job is not.
No, but Zaka, putting out a disclaimer right at the top or saying that these names when they were used,
that should have been
it's a code name.
Fair enough.
You could have just put a code name. No, nothing at the bottom on that screen. Just once they've used these words, Bhola Shankar, there is doctor and there is burger and all these numbers. But एक जगह आप लिख देते code name. That would have cleared your intent.
If this had been a book, you would have had to put
footnote and say these were code names. These were code names.
So, but that still would not have taken away the whitewashing of the ISI's role.
Exactly. See, that's the second part. I also feel that Bhola and Shankar were the emotive hooks, whereas a lot of people did highlight these factual inaccuracies and did raise the fact that has an act of terrorism been glossed over.
So,
ultimately controversial here. This sort of whitewashing of Pakistan's commissions and criminality by the left ecosystem is quite deliberate and is at one with a much greater endeavor. Now, here is something that I'm going to say which, I'm sure the spotlight will be on. There has always been a need to preserve this carefully crafted illusion of Muslim victimhood in this country. I think it kind of stems from a lot of this. There is this Aman ki Asha at one level, the sense of preserving this Muslim victimhood.
Pakistani Muslims.
No. Why would you equate the Indian Muslim with the Pakistani Muslim?
I'll tell you, because Nasiruddin Shah, what did Nasiruddin Shah say? That, I was scared after this movie that this would lead to
Islamophobia.
No,
why would
that has nothing to do with
Nasiruddin
Pakistani Muslims. So this is exactly what, you see, now
so
you
see
erase
the nationality and then stick on to the religious continuum. But that's unfortunate.
It is very unfortunate. That's why I'm saying. Now, I brought it out. And Nasiruddin Shah, if you just read what he has said, exactly that. It is always about saying that, we are not aggressive, but we didn't do anything.
Your thesis about preserving Muslim victimhood, what has that got to do between Indian Muslims and Pakistani Muslims?
But that's precisely
if the attempt of this series is to show the ISI in good light, that has nothing to do with Indian Muslims.
Zaka, what he's saying is, because it's a two-way tug. On the one hand, Muslims in India are different from Muslims in Pakistan. There is a difference. Nationality is the bigger factor for all of us. But there are some who will erase the nationality part and hang on to the religious continuum saying they are all Muslims. Now that's the game.
Why in Kashmir? This is what happens in Kashmir. So, they are connected how? Why do some people in Kashmir want to be reunited with Pakistan?
This is the religious.
You ask yourself these questions.
But I am coming
Why
back
are certain people in Kerala fighting for the ISIS?
My point is, sir, you have to do service to your country. You cannot compromise your country's interests because you feel that you want to hold on to an ideological thought process or a narrative or an ecosystem that you want to owe your loyalty to. That's where the problem lies. And in this case, if you're trying to play down enemies and those who have perpetrated acts of terror on Indian soil and against Indians, then we need to take cognizance of it and not allow this to happen, because future generations should not get to watch this and have a different impression altogether.